Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Tattva Bodha is said to be written by Adi Shankaracharya. Now, I say it is said to be because there are a lot of debates about it. Some say it is written by Adi Shankaracharya, some say it is not. So, it really doesn't matter. We are grateful to all the masters, and especially since we follow Advaita tradition, we salute all the masters in the Advaita tradition, starting from Sadashiva and in between Adi Shankaracharya and then till our Guru. So it is attributed to Adi Shankaracharya that he has written this text called Tattva Bodha. Tattva means essence. Bodha means knowledge.
Sir, you mentioned, sir, just one quick clarification. You mentioned starting from Sadashiva.
Yes. The Brahman, basically, Brahman.
Okay, that's what it means. Okay. There's no saint called Sadashiva.
Okay. So you can say Brahman or the first avatar of Brahman, right? Adi Guru. So it is attributed to Adi Shankaracharya, and Tattva Bodha means knowledge of the essence. Tattva means essence. When you keep on analyzing and removing all the superficial layers, finally there is something that remains. That final residue, that final extract, that is the truth. And this text explores the truth. For that matter, all the scriptures explores the truth. And this is called as also called as book of definitions. Now, a student who ventures into the study of Vedanta, there are a lot of Sanskrit terms, and a lot of words are being used, and a person may get confused. So it is better if the student is acquainted with those terms and their meanings and then starts studying the scripture. So when you start the study of Vedanta in the Advaita tradition, the first book with which you start is Tattva Bodha. This is called as Prakrana Grantaha, introductory text. The entire philosophy is given in Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutra. And this you call as Prasthanatraya, the three main bodies of knowledge. Upanishads are given in the end of Vedas. Ant Bhag of Vedas is called Vedanta, which is Upanishads. It talks about the knowledge of life and living. And that was given to students who sought the knowledge, who went to the Guru, risked their lives and dedicated their lives to understand the truth. And it's very cryptic and terse. And that knowledge was filtered, diluted, and given to Arjuna, a man of action, like any one of us in the world. How to understand that philosophy, being in the world, apply it in the world, and then progress towards the ultimate perfection. So Bhagavad Gita is an expansion of the Upanishads. It is more diluted version. And we have what is called as Brahma Sutra given by sage Vyasa. It's all given in sutras. So you study the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and then the Brahma Sutra. But even to study this Prasthanatraya and understand, you need Prakarana Granthas, the introductory texts. And Tattva Bodha is the beginning text. Any student who comes in Advaita tradition to study the Vedanta, he or she starts with Tattva Bodha, the knowledge of the essence. And Vedanta Shastra, when we say that it is knowledge of life and living, it analyzes the human life, compares human being with other species, and then gives us a direction in life. It talks about the goal of human endeavor. Who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of life? This question of goal or purpose is only applicable with reference to the human species. No animal asks this question, what is my goal? Where am I heading to? You ask any animal, you see a lot of cows walking on the roads, streets. You ask them, what's your purpose in life? They have no purpose. You won't get any response also. So they're all driven by the senses. In Tamil, we call them as Kal Nadai. Kal Nadai means they're driven by the legs, which are driven by the impulses, senses. Whereas a human being also have the senses, the mind and the intellect, who can think, reflect and proceed. Rather, who should think, reflect and proceed. But how many human beings really think, reflect and proceed? Most of us exist mechanically, lead a unquestioned, blind life. In fact, we can't call that as leading a life. Like when you ask people, how are you? They say pulling on. So it's really somehow existing, going on and on, not knowing really what to do, and simply running. Either running after the world or running away from the world. So we need to first understand, as human beings, we have this ability to think. And we have what is called as the capacity to choose, the ability to choose. And our choices determine our destiny. It is not somebody who's sitting up the clouds, sitting down and determining your destiny or my destiny. It's my own choice that determines my destiny. So we say in Vedanta, if you are asked who killed Ravana, in your school exam you write Rama killed Ravana. But how you should understand is Ravana killed himself. Lord Ram is not a serial killer going about looking for people to kill. Our own actions, our own choices, we make choices today and it has a consequence. We are free to choose any action, but we have no freedom with reference to those consequences. We are bound by those consequences. So we should know, we should ask the question, what is the purpose of life? And that's what all the scriptures, Shastras, talk about. Shastra means teach and protect. Rather than living your life mechanically, somehow survive, exist, eat, sleep and procreate and continue. This is what all other animals are doing. You understand? They are also expanding their species. And we are doing the same thing. We are not saying it is wrong. What we are saying is, as human being, you have more capabilities. You have the ability to reach higher heights of life. And if you don't tap that ability, if you don't tap that potential, then you are not living up to the level of a human being. You are reducing yourself to the level of an animal or a plant or even a stone. Swami Ramtirtha beautifully analyzes. He says this world is made up of mineral kingdom, vegetable kingdom, animal kingdom, human kingdom. And amongst human beings, there are people like mineral, there are people like vegetable, and there are people like animals. Very rarely you find a person, human being, behaving like a human being. And very, very, very rarely you find a person who's escalated to the level of the divinity and functioning from the divine perspective, whom Swami Ramtirtha calls as God men, mineral men, vegetable men, animal men, human men, God men. Now, whether we go to that level of God men or not, we should at least come to the level of human being. Just because we are born as human being doesn't mean we behave at the level of human being. See, what is interesting is, compared to all other species, human being has that self-awareness, much more proclaimed in human being than the animals. And this is both positive and negative. You understand? And because of this only we create samsara also, because we do not know how to use it. And if we can really use it, we can understand our potential and rise to that maximum level. All of us can get to that state. In fact, from Vedantic angle, what we say is, you have the right to your original nature and you better work towards it rather than wasting it. So it talks about the goal of life. What is it that we are really searching for? What is it that we are really seeking? From the time we wake up and to the time we go to sleep. What are we really seeking? Each one of us will say many things. My goal is to become a sportsman. My goal is to become an engineer. My goal is to become a doctor, dancer, whatever. But in and through all that, there is only one thing that all of us are looking for. And that is called as happiness, ananda. And what kind of ananda that we are searching for? What kind of happiness that we are seeking? Infinite, uninterrupted, unconditional happiness. We don't want finite happiness. We achieve something and in the hope of getting that happiness, and we may even get a little bit of joy from that contact. But then we see that it is very impermanent. And there is another object, let's say, which gives you more joy, more happiness. Then we run towards it. We run after it. So there is this constant pressure happiness. And Vedanta says that is because that's your original nature. Nobody will rest content till they reach their original nature. So Vedanta says your original nature is infinite happiness. See, you don't complain when you are happy, but when you are sad, you complain. So they say anything normal is not a matter of complaint. When you fall into abnormality, then you complain. So being in sorrow is not your nature. You are happiness. And today you seem to have lost it. And you need to find it. And not knowing where it is and assuming that it is in the outside world, all of us are running towards the world like chicken without head, without thinking, mechanically, bait shal, herd instinct. Nobody really asks, Are Baba, what am I seeking? I'm seeking happiness. Should I have the residential address of happiness or not? Even if I have to use that Google map, I need to put the address where to go. And only it will show me the path. I don't even know where it is. So, first thing Vedanta says is, listen, all of us are running after happiness. You better know where is it. If you say it is in the external object, Vedanta says, no problem, analyze. Analyze if it is in the external object or not. If happiness is inherent in that object, then that object should give joy to every being who contacts it. And it should give joy to every being all times. Is that the case? There are people who love something and they run after that object. And when they attain it, they get happiness. The same object, there are people who run away from it. So if the happiness was inherent in that object, it should give happiness to everybody. And not only that, even people who get happiness from that object don't get it every time. When they're upset with something, they're disturbed, or they've been constantly indulging, after some time, they don't get happiness from that object. They get neutralized. So therefore, like this, Vedanta step by step analyzes and then says, listen, it is not in any of this. If it is not in any of this, then it comes to the conclusion that it is within you. It is your original nature. Because any experience is a subject-object relationship. Subject-object relationship. And if it is not in any of the objects, then where is it? It is in the subject, you, the individual. So, how to go within and draw that happiness and be in that state of happiness and live. This is what Vedanta teaches. A lot of people think Vedanta means you have to renounce everything and then go. After having experienced everything in the world, when you're bored with it, then you say, okay, now let me study Vedanta. And that also, if it happens online, it's very, very comfortable. I don't even have to go anywhere. I just have to get up and sit in my house and then listen. So, Vedanta is not life negative. It is life positive. In fact, when you begin to evolve, understanding this knowledge as human being and as a divine self, you start living more and more deeply. Your life becomes more meaningful. You start living consciously. You start leading your life, not like how it is happening now, dragging, So, when you find that happiness, You don't live anymore to find happiness. You thereafter start living out of happiness, doing anything out of happiness. Everything that you'll do will be out of joy, out of happiness, out of contentment, out of fullness, out of completeness, out of peace. And that's when you really begin to live life totally. So, therefore, that goal which you are searching and reaching that goal alone is going to make your life more meaningful. So, you better reach that goal. How to reach that goal? What should I do to reach that goal? If that is my original nature, then who am I? I am now thinking myself to be this individual, Lakshmi Narayanan, this body mind intellect complex. Then who am I? So this whole subject analyzes the individual jiva and the jagat, the world. Individual meeting the world, contacting the world, experiences, life. So analyzes the jiva, the individual, analyzes the jagat, the world, and the common denominator in both the jiva and the jagat. The essence in both the jiva and the jagat. The essence in both the jiva and the jagat is Ishvara, Brahman, the self, the reality. So that sambandha, jiva, jagat, Ishvara, Aikya, sambandha. All this is explained in Vedanta. Understanding that, my perspective changes. And when my perspective changes, whether or not the world has changed, I remain happy 24/7. Today, that's not the case. We have improved the world. The world has become much better compared to what it was before. We are living in a world which is far more luxurious and comfortable compared to the world in which the kings lived, the emperors lived. They didn't have this kind of roads. They didn't have this kind of gadgets. We can go on and on. They had to travel on the horseback. Even if you don't have your own vehicle, motorcycle or cycle or a car, even if you're traveling in a public transport, it's a much better way of moving about than on the horseback. So the world has improved quite a bit, and we are constantly engaged in improving it. In spite of it, we are not happy. So Vedanta says that is because you are simply meandering without knowing what your goal is and how to find it, where is it, how to find it, how to achieve it. So this is Vedanta, this is the Vedanta knowledge, and those who understand this, they are interested in gaining this knowledge. First they say, okay, this is what I should first study. See, it can happen at any age. It can happen when you are in teenage. It can happen when you are 40. It can happen when you are 70. It should happen. At some time it should happen. And whenever it happens, you cannot thereafter continue like anybody else, living life unquestioned. It's a problem. It's a torture. You cannot thereafter function on herd instinct. I must know. I must study. And if you want to study, you better study systematically. Otherwise, you'll go here and there. You'll read this also. You'll read that also. And you'll go nowhere. You'll progress nowhere. So it has to be studied systematically. Right? Somebody had, typed in the chat box here that they have a question. Yes, who's this? Can you go ahead?
Morning, Swamiji. My name is Kanishk, and I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, actually, I have tried and listened to many of the lectures, but what I don't understand is many times we say that we try to say that we are far better than the animals around us. But what I see is early morning when I'm sitting at the ground, it's just that we are the person who are working day and out, in and out to earn our livelihood. But I see the small creatures, the birds, the squirrels, the dogs. They lead a life which I feel is far more comfortable. They don't have the anxiety issue. They don't have any future problems. So how do we see us better as compared to the animals? And my second question is, if I ask you to boil the purpose of life, okay, in 2 to 3 sentences, what could that be?
Hmm. Okay.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Okay. Kanishka, right? Sorry, what's your name? Kanish.
Yeah, Swamiji, it's Kanishk.
Kanish. Okay. See, what you observed is correct. Animals seem to be living life peacefully with no anxieties and worries. That's correct. But if you probe a little more, you will have to ask another question. Are they living life consciously? The answer will be no. Very beautifully, J. Krishnamurti summarizes it. He says, animals are unconsciously perfect. Human beings are consciously imperfect. That's what I said. As human beings, we are better in the sense we have more potential. Potential is there. Therefore, we can live without worries and anxiety consciously. But unfortunately, what is happening is we are today more worried, more anxious. We are not living our life without worries and anxiety. That is correct. But we can live our life without worry and anxiety. Not only that, we can live it consciously. But for that, we need to work. Animals are programmed. They don't have any intellect. So therefore, they will, contact, eat, sleep, procreate, eat, sleep, procreate. Basic discriminating ability is there. When we say they don't have an intellect, they have a basic discriminating ability. That's all. No animal asks like the questions like how human beings have asked and therefore have brought about inventions and discoveries. And no animal definitely asks, is there God? You may find some elephants or so being trained in the circus doing a puja to an idol, but they are trained. Whereas a human being alone can ask this question, is there something beyond? And say yes, accept it, or say no and reject it. You can be a believer or a non-believer. But the question is there about the something beyond. So that way, human being has tremendous potential. But human being is wasting all the energy in just survival game. In just survival, we spend all our energy running from morning till night, and we end up as loser. Therefore, we are right when we say human beings have more potential than animals. Whatever animals are living, we can live consciously. We can live without worries and anxieties consciously. We can rise from selfishness to unselfishness to selflessness. We can rise from attachment to love. We can rise from indifference to compassion. You understand? This is there, but we have to rise to that height. So this is the first question. How do we say we are better off? Because we can live consciously. We can consciously choose. See, if there is no water flowing, even if the water is flowing nearby a plant cannot help itself, cannot be independent. Compared to that, animals are little more independent. But animals also have a restriction when it comes to that independence, especially at the deeper level. Since they are programmed, the worries and anxieties are not there. They cannot go into the future. There is no, therefore, anxiety about what is going to happen to my grandchildren and their grandchildren, nothing like that. Whereas a human being has a potential to plan for the future and learn from the past. But that is only possible when the intellect is strong. If the intellect is weak, the very same potential which can learn from the past and plan for the future starts getting worried about the past and anxious of the future. This is because intellect is weak. If through the study, reflection, questioning, we build our intellect, we grow into becoming more of a human being to the fullest potential, then we plan for the future, we learn from the past. We'll never be worried or anxious. We can lead a more conscious and far superior life. Answer to the first question. Second question is, what's the purpose of life? Purpose of life is to live. You understand? You said put it in one sentence. I think Kanishk asked like that.
Yes, Swamiji.
I'm putting in one sentence for you. Purpose of life is to live. Are we living? We are mechanically existing. Swami Ramtirtha lived 32 years. Swami Vivekananda lived 39 years. I think Swami Ramana Maharishi some 54, 55. It doesn't really matter, the count. Even if Swami Ramtirtha lived only 32 years, even Adi Shankaracharya, I think, lived only up to 32 or so. But those 32 years, or after their realization, they lived totally. They lived every moment consciously. Are we living like that? We are just mechanically existing. So this is not living. Real purpose of life is to live, be in the present, totally. And that is only possible if we have found the self. Unless and until we find our original nature, we don't begin to live fully. Therefore, we say the purpose of life is to find the self. From that only this comes. See, generally you will find if you go to somebody and ask, what's the purpose of life? You go to any Swami and ask, what's the purpose of life? Purpose of life is to find the self. What is this? Before coming to that, what is it that you are supposed to, you are born here, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to live. The purpose of life is to live. We don't know whether we'll be there next minute. So this minute we should live totally. Am I living totally? As you are listening to me, maybe some of you are thinking, I went to that class, that other Swami, unka answer thoda alag tha. Huh? Your mind is gone somewhere else. Is it here right now? So therefore, the purpose of life is to be here totally with full awareness. Live life consciously. Live moment to moment. But that is not possible till you have gone beyond the mind. Your mind will go to the past and future. It will ramble. So you got to cross the boundaries of the mind and reach the self, the Atma within. And when you have become totally identified with the Atma, the self, having crossed the boundaries of the mind, then you live in the present totally. Then you begin to live totally. Therefore, we say the purpose of life is to find the self. You have no other purpose. Because till then you are not living only. You are very comfortable living like this. No questions asked. Please continue. Nobody is coming and forcing you. But how I should live? So can I live independent of circumstances? Independent of everything mentally. See, physically I may be dependent. Now Delhi right now is cold. Now I'm not in Delhi now, so I'm not wearing the sweater. Now if I was in Delhi, I'll be wearing the sweater. I'll be wearing the woolen. Now, this is physically I can protect, but in spite of it, it can cause certain things. Can I be mentally free from it? In the case of animals, they are programmed, they have restricted capabilities, therefore they don't get worried and anxious. In the case of human being, he has more capacity and be independent, but since he has not developed that abilities, mastered that ability, he continues to be worrying and anxious. Therefore, we say the purpose of life is to live. Is that okay? Find the self. If you find the self, you will be in happiness and you will be peaceful and spread harmony around you.
Thank you, Swami.
Somebody has written here, please take the questions in the end of the class. We will do that, but every now and then it may be, sometimes it's better that we answer the question. I'll come back to the flow. Every human being is looking for happiness only. And it is not in the outside object, it is within. And when we find that happiness, there's another question that is there in everybody. Okay, I've found the happiness now. And once I've achieved the goal of life, once I've come, see, when we say that we have come to the goal of life, we think we have come to the terminus of life. When a bus comes to its terminus, it stops. So we think, I found my happiness, then I'll stop. What a selfish way of living. That's actually untrue. In fact, you begin to live thereafter totally, and you thereafter become a source of joy for everybody. This is the beauty. It's when we say goal, doesn't mean it's the terminus. It's terminus in the sense thereafter nothing else to be achieved. But that doesn't mean, since I've found my happiness, I'll stop acting. Who said that? That's why I said, you will thereafter start acting out of happiness. You thereafter start expressing out of happiness, whether it is rewarded or not rewarded. Whether you are appreciated, not appreciated, whether you are getting the benefits or not getting the benefits, you continue. Like a nightingale that sings, like a flower that blossoms. Flower doesn't say, oh, today is Sunday, the garden is closed, visitors cannot come, so I will not blossom today. Have you ever seen any flower? Doesn't matter whether people come, don't come, garden is closed, not closed, doesn't even know. Simply blossoms. So thereafter, your nature, whatever may be your nature, expresses fully. You, in fact, cannot be selfish thereafter. You are not even unselfish. You are selfless. In fact, you have come to a level where you have no choice but being selfless. So therefore, you start really becoming, what do you call, helpful to the world when you find yourself. In fact, many years ago, I remember once, many times we have been invited for certain talks in Rotary clubs. Usually it is for 20 minutes. But on one particular talk, they said, sir, it's for 1 hour. You please talk for 1 hour, not 20 minutes. And you choose the topic, they said. I said, I don't know what topic you choose. More difficult for us to choose the topic than talk, actually. So I said, what is the topic? Then they said, you choose. Then I asked them, what is the motto of this Rotary clubs? They said, service before self. I said, no. My topic will be self before service. You understand? They said, topic is service before self. Which is good. Then I said, you have to go even beyond. What is that? Self before service. But only difference is, when they say service before self, their word self starts with small s. When I gave the topic that self before service, the word self in my topic starts with capital S. Capital S refers to Atma, the divinity within. The small s refers to Jiva, the individual, this body mind intellect complex. So what they are saying is service higher than the individual. Rise above your individuality and serve. I'm saying the same thing in a different way. Self before service. See, that goal that you will be able to achieve, service before self, only if you find your true self. First, in fact, you have to strengthen your roots. A tree whose roots are strengthened starts bearing fruits. A coconut tree, the first few years, is only taking, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it may be. And after it has strengthened the roots, throughout the life it gives. Throughout the life. And no questions asked, is not worried, concerned whether I'm selected as the star coconut tree of the street, star coconut tree of the country. Nothing. Simply gives. That is because the roots are strengthened. When the roots are not strengthened, you are bound to be selfish. Through service, you are trying to find name, fame, power, position. If someone else is serving, then competition comes. Will he be awarded or will I be awarded this year for doing best service? So, it won't be true service. True service, true worship, true living begins from the time we find ourselves. It starts from there only. As long as we are still understanding ourselves, identifying ourselves as this limited individual, to that extent, there can be no service. So once you find the self, thereafter, your action turns into service. Your action converts itself into service. And when action converts itself into service, it's called worship. In Christianity, on Sundays, they go to church and they call it service. Everybody begins to serve only to the extent they have identified with the self, only to the extent they have discovered the self. So therefore, you really begin to live when you have found yourself. And that's the goal. And therefore, I must learn, understand, and then systematically proceed. This is what I was telling, the thought flow. Simply, I'll get up this morning, I'll take one book, read. Another, next day, not even I won't continue the same book. Some other book I'll pick up. Another day, all are spiritual books only. So then what we are doing is, we are collecting information. We are collecting what is called as information. There is not going to be transformation out of such approach. You're comfortable with that? Please continue. But if you believe that this study, spending every week now, starting this Saturday, you are convinced that I should study this once a week and then every day at home, it should be resulting in transformation. If it's not resulting in transformation, what's the big deal? I'm going to burden myself with a lot more information. And this undigested information will come out in my life as intellectual diarrhea. All my get-togethers and this and that, I'll be talking, everybody is running for happiness only from morning till night. You're just going to be vomiting. It's not going to help you. So therefore, we say it has to be a systematic study. You got to learn, reflect, practice, and go beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect, beyond the ego, beyond the vasanas, realize the self. And that's what Vedanta is all about, systematic study. And this Swamiji has beautifully presented in his book, Vedanta Treatise. In fact, Swamiji has not written the commentary on Tattva Bodha. I personally feel there was no need for him because he's written that in the Vedanta Treatise. You see, Vedanta Treatise book, he took almost 20 years to write the book Vedanta Treatise. And he's written it in 3 parts. Part A, Part B, Part C. Part A, Introduction to Vedanta. Part B, Practical Vedanta. Part C, Essence of Vedanta. Quintessence of Vedanta. Upanishads. So step by step, he explains whatever we are talking, all that is there in Tattva Bodha, you will find it in Part A and Part B, little bit in Part C. So Tattva Bodha talks about Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. It talks about everything in Vedanta, introduces the concepts in Vedanta. Right? Now, when we keep saying Vedanta, Vedanta is what? The end portion of Vedas. What is the beginning portion then? The beginning portion of the Vedas is called Karma Kanda. Mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishads. These are the 4 parts of Vedas. Mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka put together is called Veda Purva Bhaga, and Upanishads, which is given the end portion of the Vedas, is called Anthabhag, Vedanta Bhag. So, Veda Purva Bhag, Veda Anthabhag, all are what? Veda means knowledge. They are helping us to live life, giving us this knowledge. So, Veda Purva Bhag, what does it do? It emphasizes Dharma. Veda Anthabhag emphasizes Brahman. So, only when we channelize our mind and start living dharmically, we can get into studying the scriptures and then progressing. Because only then the mind will be calm. You need a pure mind, clean mind, calm mind, balanced mind to inquire. If we are so disturbed, mentally agitated, you can't do any inquiry. So to inquire, you need a calm, quiet mind. So they talk about those things. How to purify the mind, how to make the mind single pointed. For that, in the beginning portion, Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda is given. Karma Kanda, when it is followed with understanding, I emphasize on that. When it is followed with understanding, otherwise you will be doing mechanically. You will develop mental purification. Then when you follow Upasana, see, these are terms which we will explain in our weekly classes slowly. So don't get worried. What is this Karma Kanda? What is Upasana? Everything will explain. Upasana, Upa-asana, sitting near the divinity or the symbol that represents the divinity and channelizing our thoughts helps in bringing about that single pointedness. Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Ekagrati. Chitta Ekagrata we need to develop. And to the extent we have developed that, to that extent we can gain the knowledge. So that we come to Upanishads after that, the end portion of Vedas, which is what? Jnana Kanda, where knowledge is given. Knowledge is emphasized. And to the extent you have followed the Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda properly, to that extent you can draw knowledge from Jnana Kanda and grow. This is the idea. So, a student who is clear in the head, all these concepts that we discuss, end of the day, I need to go within to find happiness. It is not outside. I should be first clear about this. If I'm not clear, then it will be only out of curiosity I'll text the text. So, that clarity has to be there before coming. Why am I coming? You can't go to dance teacher for learning music. You go to the dance teacher for dance. Go to the music teacher for music. So you come to Tattva Bodha. Why? First, that we have to understand. This clarity has to be there. This is what he gives in Vedanta his book. If you see in the beginning, in the very first chapter itself, he talks about happiness and all that. So like Arthur Schopenhauer says, it is difficult to find happiness within, but it is impossible to find it elsewhere. It is difficult to find happiness within, but it is impossible to find it elsewhere. So you have to be clear. It is impossible to find it elsewhere. When I'm clear it is impossible to find it elsewhere, then I will be applying myself fully to find it within. And this knowledge, another very interesting thing about this knowledge is, it is called as Sadhya Jnanam. All other knowledges are called Sadhana Jnanam. What is this Sadhana Jnanam, Sadhya Jnanam? You go to the chemistry class, they say 2 atoms of hydrogen combining with 1 atom of oxygen gives you water. So you try that out in the lab, you go, you try that out, and then you say, okay, I found it now. I'm clear. Here it is not like that. As you are gaining the knowledge of yourself, as you are identifying with yourself, what you will find is all your worries and anxieties will be reducing, vanishing. You don't have to go and apply and then find. This is called Sadhya Jnanam. For that Sadhya Jnanam to give you the result, you should be qualified and ready. Somebody is asking, can you speak in Hindi? I can, but you will not understand. That's the kind of Hindi I can speak. So I'm really sorry. I don't know Hindi language. I can't speak in Hindi. So the thing is, therefore, with that clarity, when you approach and understand step by step what the Guru will teach in this book, you will understand the concepts. Then we can go into the other scriptures. That's how we go actually. We go into the other scriptures, then slowly you can go to Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Brahma Sutra and all that. But even this, if you really understand in depth, too many books are not needed when one book is enough. It is not as if before Adi Shankaracharya gave these books, nobody else realized the self. Before Swamiji wrote Vedanta, his book, nobody else realized the self. It's not like books came first and then everybody. You start inquiring, go within, you will hit the terminus of life, the self, the Atma. Has to happen. So therefore, your worries and anxieties or happiness, whichever way you want to look, sorrow or happiness is not something that is coming from external world. So you go and set it right, then you will become fine. No such thing. It is coming from within. If you know how to contact the world, you will be happy. If you do not know, you will be in sorrow. You better learn. And that is what Tattva Bodha talks about. Tattva Bodha therefore means what? Knowledge of essence. Essence about life. What should I know? This clarity itself I should have. See, Yudhishthira, the eldest of Pandavas, was coronated after they won the battle, Kurukshetra battle. He became the king, for which they struggled so much. He has now become the king. Even after becoming the king, he was not happy. He was sitting on the throne and he was so disturbed. Terrible headache. So he asked Sri Krishna, I am not at all happy. I'm still having that insecurity, worries, anxieties, all that. I thought, once we win this battle, establish Dharma, everything will be fine. But I'm still going through all this. What should I achieve? Achieving which nothing else remains to be achieved. Sri Krishna said, he was probably tired. Baba, abhi, to your brother, I gave Bhagavad Gita. Now again, I can't give one more. So he said, let's go to Yudhishthira. Sorry, Bhishma Pitamaha. So there he asks, Yudhishthira asks, be the Bhishma Pitamaha, who is on the bed of arrows. Kimekam daivatam loke kimvapyekam parayanam stvantakkam kamarchanta prapnu yurmana vashubam ko dharma sarva dharmanam bhavata paramomata. All these questions he's asking. In short, what he's asking is, what knowing which nothing remains to be known. This is, in short, just putting that question in. The same thing is asking in a different angle. That's all. What knowing which nothing remains to be known. Because how much ever I know many things, I still keep feeling I need to know more, I need to know this, I need to know that. I'm still insecure. See, today, so many people are out of job. You know, so many every day in the news you're hearing these many people have been removed from this company. Every day. So they are constantly trying to update themselves from this knowledge to that knowledge. You understand? Constantly they're trying to update. But that, of course, you need to update. But that insecurity, how can you can still continue updating without that insecurity? That insecurity will go only by gaining this knowledge, not by doing something, but by gaining this knowledge. Action cannot free you from insecurity. Action can help you achieve what you don't have. Only knowledge can help you realize what you have. What Vedanta is saying is, you are already the self, but you do not know that. You are imagining yourself to be this limited individual. You're already the self. There's nothing to be achieved. You only need to realize. You only need to get enlightened. To achieve what you have not achieved, what you don't have, you need action. But to realize what you have, what you are, you need knowledge. And that knowledge is Vedanta, and that is what Tattva Bodha explores. So from next week, we'll begin the text Tattva Bodha in a systematic order. Let's conclude now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.